Hello class! Sorry I couldn't be with you today, but hopefully this video will make sense and I want you to take notes. You should have this paper in front of you and I made it simple. We're going to take notes on it. You're going to cut it afterwards and put it in your INB and I'll tell you what page after, okay? So let's take notes because there's so much vocabulary in this unit. So much, and you have to know all the vocabulary words, right? To be better mathematicians, you got to know all these vocabulary words, right? So the first word is complementary and supplementary. You might have heard these words from last year, complementary and supplementary. A lot of students confuse the two, so this is how I remember it. Complementary looks like the word corner. Complementary, corner. So corner makes a 90-degree angle. And supplementary, I think of as straight, right? S for supplementary, S for straight. It makes a straight line, which is 180 degrees, and a corner makes a 90 degree. So basically, complementary is two angles that measure up to 90 degrees. So you want to put 90 degrees here, okay? And a supplementary straight line is two angles whose measures have a sum of 180 degrees. So that means when I add two angles together, it gives me either 90 degrees, and we call them complementary angles, or it gives 180 degrees, and we call that supplementary angles. So let's look at the example. Angle blank and blank are complementary angles, right? Which angles give me a 90-degree angle? So one is a 90-degree angle, but we want two angles that add up to 90 degrees. So angles 2 and angle 3 are complementary angles. So if we add those angles together, we're going to get 90 degrees. All right? And supplementary is 180 degrees. So angle 1 and angle 2, when we add those together, it's going to give me a straight line. And a straight line is always 180 degrees. And we call them supplementary angles. And they have to be, another word I need you guys to know is they have to be adjacent to each other, meaning they have to be next to each other. So adjacent just means next to. Okay? So angle 1 and angle 2 are adjacent to each other, they're next to each other. Angle 2 and 3 are adjacent to each other, next to each other. It can't be like, oh my gosh, excuse me. It can't be two angles that are far away from each other. You can't call them supplementary angles. They have to be next to each other, okay? Then we have vertical angles, and how I remember vertical angles is you are across from each other, all right? So a pair of blank angles formed when two lines intersect at one point, all right? Oh my goodness, I'm sorry about my allergies. 1 second. All right, so then here we're going to put a pair of opposite angles, okay? So these are opposite, and giving an example will help, okay? A pair of opposite angles formed when two lines intersect at one point. So there's lots of vertical angles here. So basically what I'm looking at is 2 and 3. They're opposite of each other. Those are vertical angles. 1 and 4 are vertical angles. They're right across from each other, and they share a common point. Let's see, 6 and 7 are vertical angles, and also 5 and 8 are vertical angles. Okay, they're all vertical angles. So I'm going to put 5 and 8. That's the last one I said. Right? And vertical angles are always equal to each other. Okay, so I'm going to write down the side. Always equal. So if angle 2 was 30 degrees, that means angle 3 is also 30 degrees. Vertical angles are always equal to each other. All right? Then we have adjacent angles, which we talked about already. Adjacent means next to. So it's two angles that have a common side and a common vertex. So they're right next to each other with a common point. So for example, 1 and 2 are adjacent. 3 and 4 are adjacent. So are 1 and 3, right? Because they're right next to each other, 1 and 3. 5 and 6 are adjacent. So is 7 and 8. Also, you can look at the other side and say 6 and 8 are adjacent. 5 and 7 are adjacent. All right, let's do 5 and 6 here. There's many answers, right? Next to each other and share a vertex. All right, So now you're going to cut this along the lines, and let me tell you what page it will be on. 1 second. Alright, so you will put this on page 24, and you're going to label this vocabulary. All kinds of vocabulary, okay? So put this on page 24, make it nice. While I'm gone, you should also work on your IMB, make sure it's nice. I'm going to do IMB check at the end of this week. So Friday, I will do IMB check. So this is a good time to make sure it's straightened up for those that need it to be. So this will go on page 25 once you're done taking notes. And you're going to label this parallel lines. So parallel is that's how we symbolize parallel. Parallel lines cut by a transversal. Now, you're like, what the heck is a transversal, Ms. Pak? Well, I shall tell you, okay? A transversal, if you can read it here, is a line that intersects 2 or more lines at different points. So basically, a transversal is a line that cuts through, okay? So it can be something like this. So this line is the transversal right there. Line L, the transversal. It can be something like this. This line's a transversal. It can be something like this. That line's a transversal. So it's any line that cuts. Think of like cutting a slice of bread or something. It cuts 2 slices of bread at once. That's what transversal is, okay? And that's what we're learning today about these different transversals. Okay. All right, so that will go on page 25. And let's talk about it. So basically, this T, this line here, is the transversal that cuts through parallel lines A and B. Okay, so those are parallel. Okay, so A and B are parallel, meaning they never cross, and T cuts them like a saw. Okay. All right, so that's transversal lines. Corresponding angles. All right, so here a lot of vocabulary comes into play, and I know it gets a little confusing, but corresponding angles are pretty easy. They just slide up and down, and the positions are the same. Okay, so this is how I remember what corresponding angles are. So if you look, it says corresponding angles are 2 angles that occupy corresponding positions when a transversal intersects 2 lines. Basically, imagine your seat being taken by somebody else. That's a corresponding angle, like it's coming into your position. So what I think of is, for example, 2 and 6 are corresponding angles. If I move 2 down, it takes the place of 6, right? 1 and 5 are corresponding angles. It's the same position as each other. Let's see, 3 and 7 are corresponding angles, and 4 and 8 are corresponding angles. So actually, instead of doing that, I'm going to color code it a little better. So I'm going to color code the corresponding angles. So if you want, go get colored pencils and color code it. It will help you understand what corresponding angles are. There's going to be a lot of coloring in this unit. 3 and 7, 4 and 8. So the colors tell me which are corresponding angles. So let's use 4 and 8 as one of them. All right? And corresponding angles are equal to each other. Okay? So corresponding angles are equal as well. They're congruent, as long as the 2 lines are parallel, right? So the theorem says if A is parallel to B and cut by a transversal, and cut by a transversal, the corresponding angles are equal. So you can write that on the side. The corresponding angles, that's how you write angles, are equal. All about symbols, right? That goes the same with alternate interior angles. So these are equal, and these are all equal to each other, okay? So for example, if 4 was 100 degrees, then 8 is 100 degrees, right? They're equal to each other. That's what it's saying. If 1 is 80 degrees, then 5 is 80 degrees. They're equal to each other, okay? As long as they're cut by that transversal. All right, alternate interior angles. Basically, you need to know what interior means. Interior means inside, right? So we're looking at the inside. So we're looking at these guys right here, inside. They're inside, right? Think of this as a little room. They're inside the room. And when a transversal intersects 2 lines, 2 angles that lie blank the two lines on opposite sides of the transversal, blank and blank, are alternate interior angles, and they're equal to each other as long as they're cut by that transversal. All right, let's figure out what goes in those blanks. All right, so two angles that lie inside. So you write inside the two lines on the opposite side of transversal. So basically what I'm saying is 4 and 5, they're opposite of each other. They are alternate interior angles. 3 and 6 are alternate interior angles, and that's all there is, right? 3 and 6. Angle 4 and angle 5, okay? Those are all equal to each other. So if 3 was 70 degrees, then 6 is also 70 degrees. All right. Next is alternate interior angles. Alternate exterior. And exterior means outside. So we're looking at the rest. We're not looking at these guys. We're looking at everything outside of those guys. So we're looking at 1 and 2 and 7 and 8. Those are alternate exterior angles. Okay? So let's 1 and 2 and 7 and 8. All right, so those two angles are also equal. So let me tell you which ones they are by color coding it. All right? So 1 and 8 are equal. 2 and 7 are equal. All right? So here you're going to put when a transversal intersects two lines, two angles that lie outside, because they're exterior, the two lines on opposite sides of the transversal. Opposite. That's where the alternate comes from. Alternate, opposite. So you could put 2 and 7, or you could put 1 and 8. So, if, for example, 7 was 75 degrees, then 2 is 75 degrees. And you can find what 1 and 8 are. How might you find what angle 1 and 8 are if 2 is 75 degrees? Well, from our previous notes on page 24, we know that angle 1 and angle 2 are supplementary angles. They form 180 degrees. So if I add this plus this, it's 180 degrees. So to find angle 1, all I have to do is do 180 degrees minus 75 degrees, and that gives me angle 1. And what is that angle? Subtract it, 105 degrees, right? So angle 1 is 105 degrees. That means angle 8 is also 105 degrees. And then, how do I figure out what 5 is? Well, angle 8 and angle 5 are vertical angles, and we know from the previous page that vertical angles are also equal. So angle 5 is 105, and then angle 6 should be 75 because these are vertical angles. Woo! That's a lot. But that's what we have to do, right? You learned a lot? Yeah! All right, please go to this page, page 20, what was that, 24, 25, 26, I believe, and label that practice, and do this page for me using your notes. And after you're done with that, I will give you the answers to check your work. So work on this. Don't just copy my answers or else you're not learning anything, okay? You can check your answers. So pause, do this, paste this on page 26, and then check your answers with me. All right, this should be what your answers are. Make sure you have them right. And if you don't understand it, make sure you write a question mark and ask me tomorrow when I'm in class. All right, pause this and make sure you are checking your answer and not just copying, please. I will make sure to check that you are actually doing your work by asking you questions tomorrow, and everyone should understand this. For what I did was, when I was learning this back in my heyday, I used flashcards to remember this, or I used quizzes, all right? So you can do that as well, because I know there's a lot of vocabulary for everyone. All right, when you are ready, use your notes. You're going to raise your hand and ask substitute for the worksheet that I will collect tomorrow. Whatever you don't finish on your worksheet, you will take home to do for homework. And I will collect this tomorrow, so make sure you are on task and make sure you do well. So go ahead and raise your hand and ask for the worksheet and work on that for the remaining of the period. On the next slide, I'm going to show you an example because I just realized that I want to give an example so you know how to do the worksheets. So we're almost done there, okay? Hold on, folks. Hold on. All right, let me do a couple of problems for you so that we understand how to do these. So 1 through 8 you can do by using the notes that you took, but let's do number 9, all right? So number 9, I know that angle 2, so I'm going to zoom in number 9, okay? So I know that angle 2 is 97 degrees. I know angle 6 is 83 degrees, so this angle is 83 degrees. So then I want to find angle 3, angle M, or angle 10, 9, 5, 7, and 16. Let's look at angle 3. So if we look at angle 3, we know those are vertical angles, so that's 97 degrees. Okay? And then we look at, let's do angle 5. Okay? Remember what these two are called? This plus this gives me a straight line. They are supplementary angles and they equal 180. So how do I find angle 5? Well, I know angle 6 is 83. So to find this angle, I'm going to subtract that from 180. So 180 minus 83 gives me what? 97. Right? So this angle is 97 degrees. So there we go, 97 degrees. So go ahead and fill the rest out using what you know from your notes. All right, let's go on. I will do 10 for you, and then you will do the rest on your own. All right, so 10 says angle 4 is 77 degrees. And then angle 8 right here is 4x plus 57. I want to know x. Well, 4 and 8 are corresponding angles. Remember, if you slide them down, and we know corresponding angles are equal. So I'm going to set them equal to each other. 77 equals 4x plus 57. And there I have an equation I can solve, right? So you got to know that these two angles are corresponding angles. And corresponding angles, when cut by a transversal like that, are equal to each other. So let's solve for x now. Subtract 57 to both sides, like an algebraic equation. We get 20 equals 4x. Divide 4 to both sides. Sorry, this all belongs to number 10, okay? X equals 5. So there it is. You're going to do 11 and 12 just like that. Okay, for the next page, it's very similar. Let me do, for example, number 14. All right, I want to know x. So we know these two are vertical angles, and vertical angles are equal to each other. So we're going to do 3x equals 75. Divide by 3 to both sides. X equals 25. Right? And that is my... Yes, that is my... I'm trying to think real quick. Sorry. That is my answer right there. Does that make sense? And that's all you have to do. Let's look at number 18. We know that this is a right angle, and we know they're complementary. Complementary makes a corner, so it's complementary. So I can say y plus 47 equals 90 degrees, because when you add these together, it should be 90 degrees. So subtract 47 to both sides, and y equals, those cancel out. Let's see here, 43. So y equals 43 degrees, and you're going to do the same thing for 17. All right, let's go to the next page. All right, for this page, look at the example. If I give you an angle, you will be able to find me all the other angles, okay? So for number 1, I give you 140 right there. So I know this is 140 because it's vertical angles. And then I can figure this out because 140 plus something plus this has to equal 180. If you look, these are complementary or supplementary angles. And that has to be 40, right? Because 40 plus 140 is 180. So then this must be 40 because they're vertical angles. So then you can figure these out. by looking at your notes. All right? Any questions so far? If you do, write them on the side here, and I'll take them tomorrow. You must attempt these problems, or you get no credit, because I will pick this up tomorrow. You do not need to do the back page. I X'd that out. So you have 3 pages to do. Yeah. And remember to come with questions tomorrow. I will pick this up, and this will be graded. So make sure you attempt each problem. Okay? I hope you have a great super day. Bye-bye. You do not need to do